Okay, so today we're going to look at talking about time zones. So we know in the world, so say for us here in Australia, we might be, it's like 1 o'clock at lunchtime or in the afternoon. In, say if you're over in Africa, it'd be in the morning of the day, okay? So we know that there's the time differences, and what the time differences are calculated, they're calculated using the longitude values. So if we remember the longitudes, we have that 0, the prime meridian, and remember we have all these longitudes going around like that, okay? So some are east of the prime, so that means we go that way, and some are west of the prime, so we go that way. So the big thing you need to realize is that when the sun comes up, the sun starts in the east and then goes over to the west. So the further east you are, so you might want to write this is important. The further east, the earlier you get the sunrise, I'll say. Okay, so and you can think about it too. If you think about it on the news, like when you watch the New Year's celebrations, Australia, like normally New Zealand goes first, and then we have our New Year's celebration, and then you'll see on the news, you see the other countries coming later after us. That's because we're further east than most of the those big countries that they're talking about. All right, so as we said, so time zones are calculated using these longitudes or meridians. They might call it meridians. Okay, so, and what the thing is, if you have a 15-degree difference in your longitude, there's about an hour time difference. So this is often the one they use, but we could convert that to that 1 degree equals about 4 minutes difference, okay? So once we go through the questions, you'll see it's quite easy. So local times around the world are given relative to the time along the prime meridian. Okay, so prime meridian is 0, and then we say, which is the Greenwich Mean Time. So places, and we place places are either east of that, and they're ahead of time of the GMT, because I said the further east you are, you're going to get the sun first. So they say if you're east, you're ahead of time, and places west, you're behind, or you are behind time, further behind the east countries anyway. So we do note for the following questions. So for ours, we're keeping it really simple. Of course, there's other factors, and like there's summer, longer days and all that, but we're just going to pretend that not taking into account summer and all that, the summertime. Okay, so when you get these questions, if we look at this one here, it says Singapore is located 1 degree north and 104 east. So here's the longitude that we are going to be looking at. And Sydney is located at 34 south and 151 east. Okay, what is the time difference between Singapore and Sydney? So when you get the time difference, all you need to do is, obviously, you want to find the difference in the longitude. So the difference in longitude first. So if you look, Sydney has 151 and Singapore is 104. So you end up with a 47 degree difference there in longitude. So if there's 7 degrees difference, then what we do is we divide the 47 by 15, and that will tell us how many hours difference it is. So if we did 47 divided by 15, we get 3.1. So we're just going to say 3.1. So approximately 3 hour difference between Singapore and Sydney. So if you think about it in the time of the day, so Sydney because it's further east, it's bigger, it'll get the sun rise first. Yeah, because and what we would say, it's ahead of time compared to Singapore. Okay, so just to give you an example, if it was in Sydney, if it was 8 a.m. in Sydney, then in Singapore, because they're 3 hours behind, or Sydney's 3 hours ahead, in Singapore, it would only be 5 a.m. Okay? So there's how you'll get more questions with things like that. But the only thing you have to look at is those longitude values, which have the east and the west on them. So let's keep going. So let's look at these exam questions. So all towns in the state of Victoria are in the same time zone. So they're always going to quote that, because say what they happen, if we technically looked at say Melbourne and the town, say Lorne, even though Melbourne is a bit further east in the world than Lorne, so technically we'll get the sun a bit before Lorne, but we don't do the time like that. We just say, we end up making a zone and we say, no, you're roughly around the same zone. So that's what they're saying. All towns in Victoria are in the same time zone. So when it's 8 a.m. in Melbourne, it's still 8 a.m. in Lorne, but the sun would be different, how you get the sun. So that's what they're talking about. So they say Malakuta has it's 38 south and 150 east. And then we have Portland, it's still 38 south but 142 east. So they're two coastal towns in the state of Victoria. So one day in January, the sun rose in Malakuta at 6:30 a.m. And they're always going to say this next bit, assuming 15 degrees equates to 1 hour time difference. So they will state that. It's like they state the radius of the earth. So the time the sun was expected to rise in Portland. So if you have a look, Malakuta is further east, it's bigger. So it gets the sun first. So if you think in Malakuta, the sun rose at 6:03 a.m. Okay, so we want to work out what the time difference is. So remember the time difference, you work out the difference in longitude. So we've got 150 minus 142. So there's 8 degrees difference. And if we want, we could just use that other fact that we said that 1 degree equals 4 minutes. So if you go 8 degrees would be times 4 minutes. So we could say that's 32 minutes. All right, so there's 32 minutes between their time. Now, Malakuta got it first. They have the sun. And then a bit while later, 32 minutes later, is we're going to get the sunrise in Portland. So that would end up being 6:35 a.m. And there's the answer to that. Okay, so the more east you get the bigger east number, or the more east you are, you get it first, and then the next ones come after it. So if we look at this next question, it says the location of 4 cities are given below. In which order from first to last will the sun rise in these cities? So we've got to look at all their longitude values. And so it's pretty easy to do the biggest east is the first. So here, Adelaide's first. And then if you look, the next east value is the Heraclion. I don't know how to say that. Someone else might be able to better. So that's second. Now if you think about, we've got 2 wests. So remember this is 0. So if you've gone a little bit west, 3 degrees, that's not as far away from east as the 58 west. So this one becomes third and this one becomes fourth. So you look for that combination in the answers and it's B. Okay, keep going. On question 5, on the first day of June in 2019, in the city of St. Petersburg, Russia, the sun is expected to rise at 3:48 a.m. On the same day, the sun is expected to rise in Helsinki, Finland, approximately. So they want to know the difference. So we're just looking at the longitudes here. So because the St. Petersburg's Russia, it's bigger. So it got the sunrise first. So sunrise first. Okay, so in Russia, it was 3:48. 3:48 a.m. was sunrise. Now we want to know the time difference between these. So remember, the difference will be the difference in their longitudes. So there's 5 degrees difference, and if we want to do the 5 times, we can just do the 5 times the 4 minutes, because 1 degree is approximately 4 minutes. So there's a 20-minute difference, and if Russia got it first, then 20 minutes after, the Finland place will get it. So if you add 20 minutes to that, it's just asking, so we can just say 20 minutes later. Okay. All right, and let's look at the next one. The cities of Lhasa and Chengdu and Shanghai are all in the same time zone. Assume that 15 degrees of longitude equates to 1 hour of time difference, which they always say. I say, which of the following statements are true? Okay, so we're going to go through them. The sun rises at the same time in all 3 cities. Well, they would have to have the same longitude for that to be correct, and they don't, so the sun does not rise in all 3. The sun rises in Lhasa approximately 1 hour before it rises in Chengdu. So if we look at sun rising, we can see that the bigger east, so this is sunrise, this would be first, this would be second, and this would be third. So they said Lhasa is approximately 1 hour before Chengdu, so that would say it was ahead of it. So that is not correct. Then it said, the next one, it says Lhasa the sun rises approximately 2 hours after Shanghai. That could be correct because Shanghai was first. So let's have a look at the difference. So Shanghai has a 121 longitude and Lhasa has a 91. So it's 30 degrees difference. And if you divide that by the 15, you get the 2 hours. So that's correct. 2 hours after Shanghai will be Lhasa. So this one is correct. I'm going to go with that. And when I come back, when I'm checking, I'm going to move on in my exam. I'm not going to waste time, but I'm going to come back and check these ones to make sure they're wrong. So let's have a look. Sunrise in each of the 3 cities is approximately 15 minutes apart. Well, we already worked out that's not true because there was 2 hours between them. So they're not 15 minutes apart. So that one's still wrong. And the sun rises in Shanghai and Chengdu at the same time, but earlier in Lhasa. We know that they're not rising at the same time. They've all got different longitudes. They'd have different sunrises. So that one's out. So we know we're correct. Okay. Each year begins on 1st of January. The location that begins each year first is, and this is an easy question, it's question 1. So we know we're just looking at the longitudes. So who's going to shout out which country is, or which place is going to begin the year first? Boys?
E.
Yep, E, good. Port Moresby, because it's got the biggest east value there. Good. All right, question 6. All cities in China are in the same time zone. So here we got Wuhan, Chengdu, both cities in China. One day in January, the sun set in Oahu at 5:50 p.m. Assuming there's 15 degrees of longitude equates to 1 hour. The time the sun set in Chengdu on the same day is. So if you're talking about sunset, so first to have sunrise will still equal the first to have sunset. Okay, so if it comes up first, then it's going to set first as well. So if we look at the longitudes and we look at it, Wahoo is going to be, Wahan or whatever it is going to set first, yeah, because it's got 114. And then you'll have Chengdu. So it said that Wahoo set at 5:50 p.m. So then Chengdu's going to come after that, okay? And we need to know what the difference is. And if you look at the difference, it's 114 minus 104, so it's about 10 degrees difference. And if you want to just do 10 degrees times 4 minutes, that would be 40 minutes. So we know approximately 40 minutes after. So that would be at 6:30 p.m. Yeah, would be when it sunset in Chengdu. All right, this is the last one. So let's have a look. A cargo ship travels from Magadan, there's its location, to Sydney. Explain with reference to the information provided how we know Sydney is closer to the equator. So this one's not to do with the time zone, but if we think about the world, and we saw the other day, remember the equator is a 0 latitude, and obviously Magnum is up here, has gone up further, and it's on a 60 degrees north, and Sydney it's not as far down, it's only on 34 degrees south. So you would need to write that in. So you'd probably say the equator is 0 degree latitude. Sydney's latitude is 34 degrees south, which is a smaller angle than Magna's, I'll just abbreviate there, 60 degrees north. Okay, so that's where you write something like that. So the next part is assume the radius of the Earth is 6,400. Find the shortest distance between Magna and the shortest great circle distance. So we can see, hopefully you would have seen anyway, up here when you're finding a distance, we can see they're on the same longitude. And so when they're on the same longitude, we would use that formula that we have for same longitude, where the distance is pi times 6400 times the difference in their latitudes, okay, over 180. So if we pop all that data in, it would be, now their difference in latitudes, because one went south and one went north, you've got to add them together. So the difference is actually the 60 plus 34 over 180. So it's actually a difference of 94. Now, when you get if you do this on the calculator, you end up with 10499.9. Now, they asked you to go to the nearest kilometre. So when you go and look at that, you have to round that up. Now, because that's a 9, that gets rounded up, and because that's a 9, it gets rounded up. So your answer actually has to be 10,500 kilometres, and I would tip that would have got a lot of people. It's only 1 mark, so unless you had that, you weren't getting the 1 mark. All right, and then finally we're on to the time zone one. So the cargo ship left Sydney at 6 a.m. on the 1st of June and arrived in Perth at 10 a.m. on the 11th of June. Now, there is a 2-hour time difference between Sydney and Perth. How many hours did it take the ship to travel? So there, you don't have to work out how much difference there is, like in time. They've told you. So there's a 2-hour, a plus or minus 2-hour difference. Depends which way you're going. Now, because we're going to go to Sydney, we're going from Sydney. So here we've got Sydney, and so Sydney on the 1st, and they said 6 a.m. And then you go, and it travels over to Perth, and it is, what time is it? 10 a.m. in Perth on the 11th of June. So there's 10 days in there, that's for sure. But we have got to be careful. You want to do, they said there's a 2-hour time difference. So what you probably good to do is, because it finished, this is the finishing time, and it's in Perth time. So finishing time, and it's Perth time, which is, they're saying it's in Perth and it's 10 a.m. So what I suggest you do is you go find out what the starting time is, the starting time at Perth, yeah? Or when we started, what was the time at Perth? Now, if we look up here in the longitudes, Perth is not as far east. So that means that Sydney is ahead by 2 hours. So Sydney's ahead by 2 hours. Okay, so if we think the starting time, or Perth is behind 2 hours, so if we go behind time, the starting time was actually 4 a.m. on the 1st, because Perth is 2 hours behind Sydney. So then if you look, if you're going to go, we finish at, we've got 10 days in between, so we're going to say, right, there's 24 hours in a day, so we'll do that. Plus, it's 10 days, but it's a bit extra, because that 10 days would only take us to 4 a.m. 10 days later, and it was 10 a.m. So the difference to go to 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., that's another 6 hours, okay? So we've got to add another 6 hours. So you can see that the total hour difference will be 246 hours, okay? So generally when you get one of these, what you want to do is probably go to where you're going to end up and work out what that, the starting time in that place. And then it's a much easier, because then you will make sure you get the right hours in there.